All right, class. In this unit, we're covering Islam. In the first video, it was a fun video that is, in a way, testing your pre-knowledge of Islam as we just asked some questions, see if you knew about it, and explain some common and key terms within Islam and amongst the Muslim world, their faith. And so in this particular video, we're going to be a little bit more laser focused on what you see on the screen with regard to the question, well, what is the Quran? So we've already addressed it a little bit in the first video. Let's take a look at it just again, and then we're going to look at some verses within the Quran as well. So within this, we want to remember that we understand that the Quran is actually just a collection that literally means he read or he recited. So we want to remind ourselves that the Quran is based off of the fact that Muhammad received revelation, direct revelation, through Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, from God, and received these. He read, he recited those, and then over a period of time, they ended up getting written down, and in accordance with their faith, it got written down literally, word for word, within Arabic. And that is the Quran. That is the revelation from God to the Prophet Muhammad from the angel Gabriel, who then shared and proclaimed the message of Allah to the Prophet Muhammad. So that's the Quran. That's what we have, right? So the question that we've already addressed is, what is a surah? It's a chapter. So take a look here, and forgive me, I can't move this video right here on the side, otherwise it makes everything crash. But what you'll notice that there are actually 114 surahs within the Quran. So here's a copy of the Quran that I have right next to me, and within all of them will have, this one has of course an English translation, but you can see that on that side, you can see on the sides that it is written in Arabic. Right? And so you have these chapters, these surahs, and each of them have unique names, and it's important that you understand that it's not necessarily in some sort of chronological order in that regard, and all of them, it's a variety from very, very short to very, very long, right? So we have the first one, the first surah, that's called Al-Fatiha. And so of course I'm going to be reading it in English, but let me read these 7 ayats, these 7 verses right here. And this one is a crucial chapter. This is really important in the Muslim faith, and it just says, in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the gracious, the merciful, Master of the day of judgment. Thee alone do we worship, and thee alone do we implore for help. Guide us in the right path, the path of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy blessings, those who have not incurred thy displeasure, and those who have not gone astray. So this is that first surah, Al-Fatiha, that's within the Quran. What about this? What are some famous ayats, some famous verses in the Quran? Let's just take a look at a few of them if you don't mind. So, of course, forgive me for blocking out some of it up there, especially those of you who read Arabic, I suppose. But this one's called the Ayat al-Bir, which is the verse of mercy. And it gives you some transliteration, but take a look down here at the English translation of this particular one, that if you look at the reference, so check it out. Al-Baqarah is like saying which surah it is in, and then it's giving that particular ayat, that verse 177. Says, true piety does not consist in turning your faces towards the east or the west, but truly pious is he who believes in God and the last day and the angels and revelation and the prophets, and spends his substance, however much he himself may cherish it, upon his near of kin and the orphans and the needy and the wayfarer and the beggars, and for the freeing of human beings from bondage, and is constant in prayer and renders the purifying dues. And truly pious are they who keep their promises whenever they promise, and are patient in misfortune and hardship and in times of peril. It is they that have proved themselves true, and it is they who are conscious of God. Now, we're reading this. This is the point of religious and cultural classics. Is it because I believe it? Absolutely not. But I'm wanting you to have an opportunity in this regard to be able to read it, to hear what is the basis for Muslims and what they believe, so that you can interact with it. You can understand it. You can say, I've tackled, at least on a surface level, trying to look at some of your verses in the Quran, and here's some of my thoughts with regard to it. So that's one that's called Ayat al-Bir. You got another one? I know that word, kursi, because that's a word that I recognize from my time in Malaysia. So this is called the throne verse. Let me read it out loud for us. It says, Allah, there is no deity except Him, the ever-living, the sustainer of all existence. Neither drowsiness overtakes Him, nor sleep. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Who is it that can intercede with Him except by His permission? He knows what is presently before them and what will be after them, and they encompass not a thing of His knowledge except for what He wills. His kursi, throne, extends over the heavens and the earth, and their preservation tires Him not. And He is the Most High, the Most Great. So that's another relatively famous verse within the Quran. This one right here is called and referred to as the light verse, Ayat al-Nur. And so let's take a look at this one. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The example of His light is like a niche within which is a lamp, and the lamp is within glass, and the glass, as it were, a pearly white star lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil would almost glow even if untouched by fire. Light upon light. Allah guides to His light whom He wills, and Allah presents examples for the people, and Allah is knowing of all things. So that's another famous verse as well that many Muslims, of course, might even refer to. This one, Ayat al-Umara, which is referred to sometimes as the power verse. So this comes from Surah An-Nisa. All right, let's check it out. Ayat, those verses 58 and 59. Verily, Allah commands that you should never render back the trust to those to whom they are due, and that when you judge between men, you judge with justice. Verily, how excellent is the teaching which He, Allah, gives you. Truly, Allah is ever all hearer, all seer. So you remember we talked about the 99 names of Allah. Those are some of those that kind of pop up throughout the verses within the Quran and also the Hadiths. Look at verse 59 right here. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger, and those of you who are in the authority. If you differ in anything among yourselves, refer it to Allah and His Messenger. If you believe in Allah and in the last day, that is better and more suitable for final determination. So this one, the power verse. Right here, we've got another one that's called Ayat al-Sayf, and that's the sword verse. So this one maybe has a reference to the way in which they are to approach other people. All right, so let's check this out for just a second. It says at the bottom, and when the sacred months have passed, then kill the polytheists wherever you find them, and capture them, and besiege them, and sit in wait for them at every place of ambush. But if they should repent, establish prayer, and give zakah, let them go on their way. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful. Okay, so we have something here that open to interpretation. can create quite a lot of problems, especially if you decide to go with a literal interpretation of this one, the sword verse. So we've been taking a look at a few of the famous verses that might pop up when you Google with regard to the Quran, towards Islam in general. One of the things that I found, which is very important when you are approaching sacred texts and you're approaching sacred texts of other religions, people of other religions, I'm guided by this principle. Of course, no one is like the true God. No one is like Jesus Christ. There is no one that may come to the Father excepting through Christ. There's no other name given among men by which all of humanity will be saved. Jesus is the only way, the only truth, and the only life. No man may come to the Father except through Christ. So, in light of that, we have a faith that we know and cherish. It is an exclusive faith that it is through that way alone that people receive life eternal and life abundant. But as we engage people of other religions, we need to let their religion speak for themselves. So I have engaged people cross-culturally with regard to other religions. And it is very important for them to have an opportunity to learn about Christianity from a Christian. Most people of other religions have been taught about Christianity, but let's say it's a Muslim. Most of them have learned about Christianity through other Muslims. And I just don't think that that's a healthy practice. I think if you really want to get to the heart of the matter, you should be investigating, learning about Christianity from a Christian. I want to apply that same logic as I approach people of other faiths as well. I want to make sure that I am giving an opportunity to let Muslims speak on behalf of Islam, or to let the Quran speak on behalf of the beliefs of Islam, much like we would hope that God's holy word is the thing that helps us to understand what Christianity is all about. So that's why I've guided you through some of these verses, to just let them sit there and to speak for themselves. Of course, not in Arabic, but to the best of our ability in English. And I've got this particular link that I have for us right here that helps us to go to a spot that just shows us a few things about all the Quranic verses about Jesus. I'm not remembering accurately maybe, but I believe that there are 27 instances of where Jesus is mentioned in the Quran. So you can do exactly like I've done right here, and you can actually Google and investigate for yourself all the moments where Jesus in the Quran, his name is Isa, where he is mentioned. And as you possess an orthodox Christian faith, a faith in accordance with the scriptures, we understand Jesus as he is proclaimed through the Holy Bible. My hope is that you would then read some of these verses within the Quran and have the opportunity to do a little bit of a compare and contrast. Because there may be some aspects about Jesus that you discover Muslims and Christians, they agree. You will come into contact with some verses that actually highlight the fact that Muslims and the Quran believe that Jesus was born of a virgin. The Quran mentions Mary. But then you will be led to understand, whereas that's a point of agreement, there's going to be other verses as you read them for yourself where you will see that there is a distinction and there is a difference. For example, the belief about Jesus as the Son of God, or the belief about Jesus as a person who actually died upon the cross. So this is one of those particular places, and you can see it right here. What I want to do is I will provide for you this link within this unit so that you can investigate this as well, and you continue this rhythm week by week, unit by unit, where you watch, then you read, then you write, and then you discuss. So God bless you as you investigate those moments within the Quran where it mentions the Lord Jesus.